So here we go. Good morning. And I want to give you an example of a client this week that I sat down with that kind of, exemplifies the all-encompassing thing and the challenges and the need to ask a lot of questions when we sit down with our client to make sure that we're going to find the right fit for them. So for the sake of this discussion, I'm going to call this client Jane, or Jane. And on Day, I sat down with Jane, and she had attended one of my overviews to come and learn more about the ABCs of Medicare, aging in, lived in the San Mateo area, moved up to Sonoma County, California, and really just in the last couple of months getting to know the area, not familiar with the doctors, the hospitals, the clinics, and needing to make an important decision about her living situation and her particular needs. She's a cancer survivor. All right, Jerry, I had to mute you out again. That's you. So, if you would change phones, Jerry, or take it off speaker, that's going to be really important for your participation this morning because I'm going to turn it over to you shortly. So this gal, really new to the area, had a lot of concerns. Her primary concern that I discovered at the initial presentation was finance. She moved to this area because she's been unemployed for over a year now. Trying to find employment was almost impossible. On Social Security and unemployment, she couldn't pay her bills in San Mateo County. So she moved what she thought to was going to be a more conducive environment. She has family in the area so that she could rely on them. And that transition of needing to rely on family members and get some additional information and meet some folks and start education was really important for her. So when I sat down with Jane, the last thing that she wanted to talk about was her Medicare decision. She still has some time, and her concerns were the debt service that she was currently carrying. She had a number of credit cards that she had been using that, she was able to top of, but the financial pressure was bearing down on Jane that she was now having difficulty just keeping up with the basics, and any additional cost towards her Medicare was going to really potentially hurt her situation. She's currently without insurance, and that scares her, especially as being a cancer survivor. So Jane further wanted to discuss her need for finding the right type of care, the right type of physician that met her previous needs, and how she could, go through that journey and process. She also had some prescription were important to her that she had kind of bulked up on prior to losing her company's plan. So Jane wanted to talk about debt. She wanted to talk about finding the right prescription information was important to her, along with some other very important personal items that I won't discuss on the call, but just physical needs that she had. She had recently moved into a part of town that and signed a lease that was 55 and older, so that she could, in her mind, meet other people who were experiencing similar needs or had she could relate to. She very quickly met a gal, her neighbor, who had been active in the community in senior center and other needs, and so she directed her down to the senior center, and that's how we met. Jane will have continuing needs as she ages. A lot of moving around. Please settle your moving around so that we're clear on the recording. And Jane had a lot of particular needs that really we never got to the Medicare. We did some research, and we think the direction that we're going to go. But again, I still need to do some additional. The best thing that I did for Jane was I brought her. Okay, hey guys, really, I'm serious. Somebody's shifting, and you're shifting your newspaper, whatever you're doing, the other tasks that you're managing at your desk or wherever you happen to be. I need you to chill. Whoever's moving, you're coming right through the recording, and I really want it to be crisp this morning when we get to Cherie and Barbara. Okay. The best thing that I could do for Jane, just to get to the point here, was to help her. I had debt management experience back in the 2000s. I helped people manage debt with software. And so I helped her make some, informed decisions about what to do with her credit cards, and it literally freed up $125 at that appointment for her. She was ecstatic that she had a little more spending money, that we calculated her debt, got her out of debt a little quicker, alleviated some pressure, and that is assisting her in helping her make her Medicare decision because her margin was very small. She's comfortable with Kaiser. She was in Kaiser in San Mateo. She was up in this. Kaiser is prevalent. She wanted to consider Kaiser, but again, she with everything under one roof, but she also was open to experiencing a new type of maybe HMO or PPO care. So with that said, we never know what the need might be, and I think Jerry is very sensitive, intuitive about getting Cherie and Barbara in front of us this morning with some what I think is another area to be attentive to as a Medicare agent, to understand how important placement is in those needs. And I know some of you are in the industry listening in this morning, and you may have some great questions. One of the things that Barbara and Cherie discovered is that having the right Medicare insurance is very important for placement. And this is going on all around us as our population ages, as people have moved away from family need other people to rely upon, and or children are making those decisions for their parents or with their parents and needing a good resource. So without further ado, I'm going to turn this over to you, Jerry. I'm going to unmute you now. Hopefully you're in a spot where you can pick it up.
Okay.
Hey. That's you, Jerry. You're reverberating. You may need to come off your speaker and get onto a telephone.
Can you hear me?
You're echoing. You're going to need to get onto a regular phone line without the speaker. It's reverberating.
Okay. I'll just say a quick introduction. I've known Barbara for many years. Her and her husband and her family have been close friends of ours. So without further ado, I'm sorry for the echo. Cherie, take over, or Barb, take over, and the senior planning company that you work for, please just describe it, and then I think we can really work together in the future. So take it away.
Hi, this is Cherie with the Plan for Senior Care. Can you guys all hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, because I went through my phone, not your VoIP. And Barbara, are you there?
I'm here. Hello,
okay,
everybody.
Thanks for having us today. I really enjoyed my time talking with Steve yesterday. As he mentioned, Barbara and I are very passionate about working with seniors. In our company, A Plan for Senior Care does focus on senior care and housing. That's where we make our money from, is actually from placement. But our placement agency is a little bit unique to other just straight housing placements. Barbara and I noticed over time of working with families that the senior housing and placement part is probably the easiest part of what's going on in their life right now. that when we sat down and looked with our families, they had a lot of other financial needs, legal needs, stuff that needed to go on to even get them to the senior care and housing part. And so with our company, A Plan for Senior Care, we try to encompass all the aspects of a senior's life, of what's going on, what they need, how we can help them. One of the ways that we do help them is to ask a lot of questions, like Steve said. I mean, it's so important when you get that client in front of you. They've come to you for your specific specialty, which for you guys is probably insurance. For us, it's placement. But there's so much more going on in that person's life. They just can't get to all the people that they need to help them. So you might be that first person that actually they get to because opportunity may knock. You may be at that senior center, or you might be at the pharmacy. And, you know, it happens that they could stop 5 minutes and talk to someone. And if you have the time to ask the questions to them, you know, not just related to your insurance business, start asking them questions like Steve was saying, where are you living? You know, what's going on in your life? You know, do you have a job? Because it tells you a lot about the person, and the person truly feels that you're listening to them. And then you can learn from them, you know, what else is going on, but also how to best apply what you're selling them, your insurance. You'll learn so much more about the person to make sure it's the right type of plan. One thing that Barbara and I notice when people come to us, we mostly work with the adult child who has a parent who suddenly something's happened to them and they've had to step in to kind of run their life. Our clients often have the wrong kind of insurance. Maybe they need to be on straight Medicare, or maybe they don't have a supplement, or maybe they're paying too much. And the person that's coming to us is just at the age of starting to get their Medicare benefits. And so when they sit down, it can be so confusing for them because what's right for them isn't right for their parents. And as Steve had said, Medicare is constantly changing. It's hard to understand. Barbara and I don't even try to understand it. So sometimes your clients are going to come to you with either their parents' need or their own need, and then that gives you an opportunity to say, well, what's going on with your parents, or what's going on with you, to even give you a second client almost to say. With working with seniors and adult children of seniors who are caring for them, it's so important to listen to them and really hear about everything that is going on in their life and hear their story. Sometimes you sit in front of these people and they ramble on and they tell you, I've been sick, or I've lost my job, I'm divorced, and you guys hear this stuff over and over, and you just want to say, well, I just want to tell you about Medicare insurance right now. What do you need from me? But that whole sales approach of listening to their life is just so important to people at this stage, because this is a whole new chapter for them, trying to understand their insurance. There's a lot that comes into play with their finances, what they can afford. They're not working anymore. When you're working, you get given your company's insurance plan, so it's not so hard to decide, what to do, what's right for you. Steve, you also talked briefly about you guys are getting into veterans planning or veterans benefits.
Well, what Steve's talking about is we work with the AMVET, the National Organization of Veterans. So we work very closely with the chapters in the state of California, and they're eligible for VA benefits, a lot of them, but they can also enroll in a Medicare Advantage plan and have their choice of which plan they want to use at no cost, because the Medicare Advantages plans are essentially zero copay.
Okay. And the veterans are a great market to work with. I had spoke to Steve yesterday. Barbara and I work a great deal with veterans as well. The veterans, if they were veterans of war, there's an aid and attendance benefit available to them to help them pay for care. That's a great way for you to kind of dive into their life a little bit, to learn about more what's going on with them and what exactly they need. If you guys are working with clients, this is an area where we really can work together, because people come to us, they've like I'd mentioned before, Barbara and I have two types of clients. We actually have the older senior, but we also have the adult children, who is what we can refer on quite a bit as a secondary client to you guys. They don't need, of course, placement, but they do need the insurance portion. With the Veterans Aid and Attendance, if that's someone that you guys are working with, and in the process of your discovery, you learn that they were a veteran of war, and you're taking care of that insurance part of their life, you may want to mention to them, do you know about the Veterans Aid and Attendance? It's something that the VA doesn't really share too much information about for them. It's always was known as a secret of the Veterans Administration. I did email Steve information about it yesterday, and you can find that on our website under our library, Veterans Administration information that you guys can share with families that you're working with. But this is a benefit where it helps them. It gives the veteran of war, it has to be a veteran of war, up to $1,800 a month to help them pay for their senior care and housing. So once you guys are in your discovery mode of finding out what they need for insurance, and you find out maybe they do need help, they need a place, but they don't know how they're going to pay for it, that's where we can step in and help them. And we can take it one step further. And vice versa with us. When we're working with our clients and we find out that their insurance isn't appropriate, their Medicare is not appropriate, we can send them back to you guys. I'm not sure if I'm still on. Did I just?
Yeah,
are you guys still there?
Yeah, you're on.
Okay.
You're good.
Yeah.
Okay, because it got really quiet quick. Okay. Okay, so I'm not. Steve, what else did you want me to go over?
Well, I think I think it would be valuable for us to hear some examples of some of the questions that you ask, what you go through, checklist of things that you ask people. Obviously, one of them is insurance, but there are other questions that lead and guide them to other services and other professionals.
Absolutely.
And that process, I think, is really valuable, just giving us some examples of some of the questions that you ask.
Right. Okay. Well, when a family comes to us, they're usually, I'd say 90% of the time, they're in a chaotic mode. Something's happened with their parent, and the kids didn't even know all this was kind of going on behind them, because when they saw their parent, they're smiling and happy to see their kids, and then the parent ends up in the hospital, and the kids find out everything that's going on with them. So Barbara and I, when families come to us, we first find out what's happening at that moment. We spend a period of time doing assessment on the medical, the crisis mode of what's happening, and then we kind of dive into a financial mode with families, and we ask them, what is the senior's income, what are their assets, what is their insurance, is it the right type of insurance for them for what they're doing with their life as a senior, where they're living. We go into geographic questions of where the family's located, who's taking care of them, who's visiting them. Let's see, what else we talk about, Barbara. Social needs of families. A lot of families don't get along, or they don't know how to have a family meeting. We will equip the family with guidelines on what questions they should be asking, what they should be looking at in a family meeting, and what direction they should be taking. We look at social needs of seniors to find out, is this person, you may often see this when if you go into their homes to see if they, to do their insurance, you guys might do home visits and then find out that this person's being reclusive. They're not doing something social. So we ask them, are you getting to the senior center? Are you visiting with people? Are you, what's going on in your social life as well? So we look at their physical aspects, their financial, geographical, social needs, and then try to put that all together in a care plan for the family and find out what's missing. When we see the pieces that are missing, that's when we refer those resources out. Barb and I don't know Medi-Cal. We don't try to be the person on that. We could just touch on it and say, well, it might be beneficial for you to talk to a Medicare specialist. And maybe that person needs to go on Medi-Cal in California. Maybe we'll refer them to a Medi-Cal specialist or a neurologist. Whatever we see is missing, that's when we start pulling out our resources for them. And then, of course, we end up with a senior care and housing component, because that's where Barbara and I actually work, and we do the placement part. So we find out what's most appropriate for the family on their senior care and housing component, and then we start our whole process of putting the family in touch with these properties that are appropriate for them, or senior home care. We'll set that up for them to do home care. And we stay along with the family until they completely have their senior safe. And some of the stuff that you'll see on our website is we have an assessment, like you can look at when you know it's time for care. That's something probably good for you guys to look at, and those would be even helpful questions for you guys on in your insurance, because those things are what should be going on in the senior's life or what they could be missing.
Can we
so if you guys want to, yeah, go ahead and ask me some questions.
I have a client right now who is, we just signed her up for a zero premium plan. She is eligible for Medi-Cal but does not want to go on it. She doesn't like living off the system. And she might have a little bit too many assets, as in maybe $16,000 in cash in the bank, not much. So anyway, she was asking me the other day if she should continue paying for, I guess it would be a long-term care policy that she has in case she ever has to go into a skilled nursing facility. And I'm a little confused about how that works with Medicare, because I know when somebody gets to that stage, it's kind of covered under their plan. So why would they pay for that kind of service? I just need some clarification.
Okay, that's a great question. That's a great question. In California, I'm sorry, let me get some water. In California, our system is Medi-Cal. Every state's a little bit different, and California is a little bit unique with what everyone else would call Medicaid. California calls Medi-Cal, and that's for someone who is has less than $2,000 in assets and low income. Medi-Cal, they're going to be, if they're over 65, they're going to have their Medicare for their insurance, but their Medi-Cal is what they would have as their supplement portion. Other states other than California, if you go into like Oregon, some parts of Arizona, some of the East Coast states, on someone who's on Medicaid, similar to our Medi-Cal, it would actually pay for their senior care and housing. In California, it doesn't. It's only for long-term skilled nursing. A real huge misnomer with people in California is they think if they don't have money, that the government is going to pay for them to live in assisted living. There's a big difference between assisted living and skilled nursing. A Medi-Cal skilled nursing is a clinical environment, like the convalescent homes that you remember when you were a kid. That people would call them rest homes or convalescent care. It's a medical model, and on Medi-Cal in California, you can have 3 to 4 people in your room. It's not easy to get onto. You have to have 5 activities of your daily living that you're not able to care for yourself. And someone who can't feed themselves, stress themselves, take their medications, maybe memory impairment, they have to be really frail to get in, and there's still a waiting list. So if you get a client that's saying, I'm just going to go on Medi-Cal, like this lady's probably smart to keep her long-term care because she may never qualify for Medi-Cal. With $16,000 in the bank, she wouldn't. She has to have less than $2,000. And physically, she may never qualify. But with a long-term care policy, she could use that long-term care policy for assisted living, which is a non-medical model, but still pays to take care of her. I don't know if you guys only sell, in Medicare insurance, or do you guys also touch on and sell long-term care?
We carry all of those lines. We found out that we have a need to actually be involved heavily in those particular lines of insurance. Our background, our licensing and certification covers most.
Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, it covers most of those products. And so just naturally we find ourselves asking those types of questions and covering long-term care, final expense, any wealth transfer, anything that, protecting assets, will, trust, and estate.
Okay. Long-term care is a wonderful product. If you guys converse, can you guys hold on one second? I'm so sorry. I have a puppy, and he's gotten into my office. Just let me push him out a second.
Hey, air balloons and puppies, you can't predict. So, guys, this is, definitely bring up.
Hey, I would like to ask some questions.
I'm terribly sorry about that.
That's okay. We got a question.
Okay, I want to just touch back on long-term care. If you guys do have a client who's coming to you for Medicare, they're also at the perfect age for that long-term care. That is an excellent product in today's market for an aging senior. Because long-term care, you got to make sure that you educate families. The government's going to pay for nothing for them, and they think that Medicare is going to also pay for their assisted living or home care, and it doesn't. So make sure and educate them at that time, because once you sit down with them and let them know that Medicare isn't going to cover these expenses, that's when you say, well, long-term care does. And people don't often realize that it's not as expensive as they think in their mind.
Yeah, just for the sake of the agents, I know this is a Medicare discussion, but I just wanted to bring this up. That's a great point, Cherie. Is today there are so many new products. There's been a change in the long-term care industry. Many of the forerunners in the industry have pulled back a little bit because they didn't calculate, the changes and the needs. And we've got a lot of new products out there that are kind of what I would call hybrids that are just perfect for these scenarios.
They are. Yeah, the hybrid products, the new products that have come out with that are wonderful. And you have these people that are coming to you for Medicare, and they're in your hand frothing at the mouth for information because this is completely new to them. They're not educated on this when they're leaving their jobs and retiring. The government's not educating them on this, so they're completely lost. They're walking up to you not knowing what to do. And if you sat down and asked them when they sign up for Medicare, you ask them 5 years later if they think that it's going to pay for them to live in assisted living or get home care, they think that. Yep. Barb and I'd say maybe almost on a daily basis, would you say, Barb, that we get a phone call of, what does my Medicare pay for? How many hours a day do I get of home care with my Medicare?
Every day we get those phone calls.
So since you guys are so familiar with all this, what then is the definition of in-home support services with Medicare?
With Medicare, there's home health. So if they have a medical need, an injection, open wound, something that's medically prescribed by the doctor, physical therapy, those are short-term things. So home health is paid for by Medicare, and people don't understand the difference between home health and home care. Your home care is custodial care, someone making a meal, helping you shower, take you to the doctor. That's not covered by your Medicare. There's like a few programs, Scan out there offers like maybe a little bit, parts of the areas, or CareMore offers a little bit, but most do not. It's really rare that that's ever offered. And the programs that do have it, they say they're fading out because it's too expensive. But part of when you're selling a Medicare insurance is really to educate these families. This is for your medical needs. It's not for your long-term care needs. And once you educate them on there, they're going to ask you, well, geez, what do I do? What's going to pay for my long-term care needs? Then you get your long-term care sale at the same time.
Marie?
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Hello?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay. I'd like to ask you some more questions about veterans.
Okay.
Do you find out if someone is a veteran?
Hey, Barbara. You must be in a classroom setting. The background noise is actually cutting out your question, so you may just want to find a little different environment to ask that question, or...
Okay.
Text it, Steve.
Yeah, Barb, you can it or type it into the fuse if you can. I understand.
Okay, I'm moving locations. Is that better now?
Yes.
Okay. For veterans,
yes.
when you talk with them, I have several questions for you.
Okay.
Do they have what kind of insurance do they generally have? The veterans, or do they have TRICARE, and does that cover long-term care also?
No, TRICARE doesn't. the veterans, they actually have all different types of insurance because some of them have worked after they've, left the military, and they have their own private insurance too. The veterans that do have TRICARE, that doesn't pay for any long-term care either, but if they were a veteran, the veterans system themselves does have like 3 or 4 veterans homes in California that they can go to for assisted living. Their spouse cannot, though. So you have to also make sure that you educate the veterans with that this is for you, not your spouse. And if they were a veteran of war, the veterans have started to pay for home care for them with specific home care agencies. It's a pilot program going on in Southern California. I'm not sure about Northern California, but it's called the Veterans Homemaker Benefit. And it will pay for some, but it's very limited on what it would do, on what it can, how many hours they can have and what they can do with it. So if you guys are going to talk about that with your clients, I would work with a veterans person and really educate yourself on all their programs because they also change often, and people want to hear that something's for free for them. So they're going to kind of hold you to whatever you tell them. So make sure that you're educated really well on all the veterans programs before you try to explain them.
Yeah, on the veterans programs, they're just as complicated as everything else on what they can cover and what they can get and those kinds of things. Do you find that veterans have Medicare?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So they are doing
absolutely. Yeah.
But they would still need perhaps long-term care.
Oh, well, yeah, because the veterans, again, there's not a plan for them just because they were a veteran. Their only option is the VA home for them, not their spouse. And that's not always the right option for them. They're scattered. There's 4 of them in California, and they're scattered like El Cajon, way out Bishop. They're way out of the city. They're nowhere near them, and there's waiting lists for them. So that's definitely not a plan for them.
Okay.
Long-term care is good for everybody. You can't give me a scenario where I wouldn't tell someone that long-term care is not right for them or they're not going to need it. Well, I guess there is a scenario if you can self-fund yourself.
Do the veterans, do you find that they have connections with veteran organizations like AMVETS in California? Do they have that need also to get those kinds of connections?
Oh, it's mixed. It's mixed when people come to us. Some were in the military so long ago, and they've had other careers in their life. They've taken presence in their mind of who they are. They don't look at themselves like, oh, I've got to get connected with the veterans for their programs. Some of them are very strong. Maybe they spent 20 years in the military, and they're connected with everything. It just completely, it varies person to person with us.
Does the not the TRICARE, but a lot of the veterans have their the insurance, the veteran insurance. But do you find that that's lacking also in this future housing needs that they might have?
It varies too. I don't see any pattern. Do you, Barbara? Do you see any pattern with veterans?
No, I don't. The one thing, too, I would say 80% of the people that we are in touch with do not even know that veterans assistance is available. So it's one of the first questions that we ask because their budget, they strictly look at what money is coming in, and that's all they want to spend. And then whenever, you bring up that there's a veterans, if they're a veteran and they say yes, they're like shocked that there's any assistance out there. So, most people do not even know about that. And it's a huge benefit. It can make a big difference on where they can be placed and what kind of housing.
Yeah. And Steve, I know your call is about Medicare, but I'm super passionate about long-term care insurance. So I just want to say one more thing for you. On our website, it's a document that you can print out about different types of senior care and housing options, what's available for you. If you guys have that, when you're working with families and you're selling them the Medicare, and you are making it clear to them that Medicare isn't going to pay for your senior care and housing. The document, it's in our library. I don't know if you can go to our library there, and I'll show you what document it is. That particular document will tell you the average price of care. I believe we still have the price on the senior care and housing options. It shows people like the average age that you start thinking about moving into to living. 55 is when people kind of start thinking about going into independent living, all the way up until your end of life, your hospice care and stuff. If you can educate families that this is really what you have to plan for, this long-term care portion, and educate them that your Medicare isn't going to pay for this. It's going to pay for your medical needs, your hospital stays, your 120 days at the skilled nursing, your hospital, your doctor visits. But there's a whole other part of your life that you need to be taken care of, and that's going to be your long-term care.
What is your website?
And our website is aplanforseniorcare.com.
And Barbara, what we're going to do is, I just want to state for the call now, Gary and I will field it. We obviously want you to go to their website, use their resources, their tools that they're recommending, but we don't want you to barrage these gals with questions. We'll field your questions and then go back and forth with Cherie and Barbara because we're building something here that's really important, and obviously we want to be very focused on meeting the needs of seniors.
Yeah, and there's a whole component when you're working with these families. If your guys are so much relationship based. When we refer insurance agents to clients, and we have, Barbara and I seek out the best. People that can listen really well, people that are caring and compassionate, and people that are going to take it one step further. We know when we pass off a family that's looking for Medicare insurance, that Medicare insurance agent's going to come back to us and say, did you know maybe they need this, or they also need this resource? And then that Medicare insurance agent that we're working with, they're similar to us. We know they've got great resources that they can help these people 5 steps further than what they came to them for. But what that's going to do for you, it's going to give you that you're the specialist and the expert in your area, that you know your product, but you also know how to help them in other ways. And that a person's going to walk away feeling so taken care of that they're going to refer their neighbor to you, their friend. They're going to give you the kudos at the senior center so that you guys build credibility for yourself. And the best referral that you guys can ever get is going to come from someone that's used you. So if you can help these seniors say, hey, I understand, you got a lot going on. What else, how else can I help you? I know this resource. I know that resource. And your business will grow tenfold before you know it because you're the go-to person. You're the hub for these seniors. And your professional lead sources will look to you as well, the senior centers or wherever you guys are, working at to get your clients.
Okay, guys, this is obviously just a real brief discussion this morning. Just wanted to open this up for some questions now in the final 10 minutes. You may be wondering, okay, hey, this is great. How do I approach, and I'm sure Barb and Cherie are open to this. I hope they are. Obviously, we want to refer back to them where they do business or where they're expanding. They're both, through Barbara, are in Northern California, and Cherie in Southern California. They both operate out of that area, and are looking for referrals and want to work with our agency on a professional basis. But you may also be asking, well, are there other groups out there, or who do I approach? So maybe, Barbara, you have some questions, or other agents have some questions, or Barbara Nagel. But maybe you, Barbara and Cherie, could also offer, what other ways as agents. A lot of folks are new here, and they're looking for ways to reach out to other professionals. We reach out to doctors currently, and we've got some other initiatives, veterans. But what other would be valuable for us to reach out to with with this information, Medicare, long-term care, and begin to associate with and become a valuable resource to.
So you guys need to immerse yourself in the senior industry. Get connected with your senior centers and of course, churches. All that are good lead sources for you guys. But in most, I don't know, like mostly where you guys are at, but in your larger cities, there's always senior groups that you can find through the senior centers or the large assisted livings of people who are in the industry. They all have different businesses. Like we do placements, you do insurance, someone else does, equipment sales. But we come together usually for a monthly meeting or breakfast or dinner with these groups. Maybe have 50 to 100 people at them. And that's ways for you to connect with the industry so you can align yourself. Barbara and I always work in a team approach with our clients. We have usually about 10 people on our team. One's an attorney, insurance agent, Medi-Cal planner is really important. That's a good person for you to also align yourself with as a Medi-Cal planner because you're going to have clients that you're going to realize that do need to be on Medi-Cal. And vice versa. The Medi-Cal planners can see that they need their insurance looked at. But we work, Barbara and I always work within whatever region we're working in. We'll have 10 people to our team so that when our families come to us and we're working with them, we can quickly do a care plan for them and say, okay, you need the attorney, you need the neurologist, you need this, and we can give them this care package as a team. That team approach makes you very strong. We call them power groups because most of your referrals will come from them, or those 10 people in your what we call a power group also know 10, 20 people that they'll be introducing you to as well.
Also, we include like movers, which I think would be good for you as well, because anybody that's dealing with a senior moving, any resource that you're dealing with a family that has a senior, they need estate planners. There's so many different aspects. And I think it's so important to have all of that included. So when we get a referral and we're working with a family, we know exactly every person that's going to help that family in every aspect of their move or their care planning. So I think for you as well, it's exactly the same. All those, you don't even think about movers, and we have pet sitters and people that help with hoarding and, things like that. But a lot of them are always working with seniors. They're always having seniors in their daily lives. So I just think that any aspect that deals with a senior that you need to have on your checklist that you've got in your little group.
Yeah, and go to our resource page on our website, and under additional senior resources, look at those businesses. Those are businesses that Barb and I use on a weekly business. Those are people that would be good for you to connect with because they're working with seniors, and if they're good at their business, they're asking the 10 questions that are, what else do you need? In insurance, they have to have their insurance reviewed. Even though someone may say, oh, yeah, I'm good, I got my Medicare 5 years ago. It needs to be reviewed. Is it the right plan for you? A lot of times when they move into senior care and housing, they're on the wrong plan. They could be with an HMO, and the community where they're at can't get these people any services because they're so locked up, and they have to go to a straight Medicare plan. So look at the types of businesses that are out there and align yourself with them.
So I have a question with regard to just working with your agency. So I can talk, just the handful of customers that I have, I can imagine them using so many of your resources. Do we call you and then connect the customers with you, or do we just say, hey, there's a great resource out there, go onto this site and this is a
if you can give us their name, we'll contact them. Yeah, have them. We can contact them directly.
Oh, you'll contact them. Okay.
Yeah, we'll contact them, or you can send us an email of introduction, and we'll email them, an email with, and if they want us to call them, we'll call them directly, and we'll walk them through the whole process. Our call with you, we're trying to cram so much information in, but when someone comes to us, they have all these needs. We sit them down, and by the time they leave us, they have a complete care plan that they leave with of this is what you need to do, these are the steps you need to do it in, and then we follow along with them until they've actually gone through their entire placement and made their move. Barbara, you did mention the movers. There's a type of business out there called senior care movers, and there's I think an organization called Senior Care Movers Association. And those people are hired to come in and to a senior's home and determine when they're moving, they'll downsize them, take the stuff to assisted living, they'll sell their homes, get rid of have estate sales, get the house staged for selling it, everything. So they work with these families for months. And they learn so much about them. They're great resources for us because sometimes people come to them because their parents are hoarding or just need something cleaned out, and then they say, well, your parents are safe, they need to move. But they're going through all these paperwork and documents and organizing it for these families as they're cleaning out. And so questions come up all the time to them. Oh, is this your insurance document? Have you gotten your Medicare looked at? Stuff comes up. They are very resourceful people. So you definitely want to align yourself with a senior move manager. That's what they're called, senior move managers.
And
I think
let me just add this. I think that was Julie there, and this is for everybody. There's actually a movement happening up here, I know, in Northern California. I'm sure it's happening in your community too. And we can do a little research by asking this group what is happening around the Bay Area. I know it's in the East and North Bay, but what's happening now is professionals that service seniors of this idea of power group are now getting together and forming BI groups, service groups, specifically related to seniors.
Mm-hmm.
And they're growing. It's a fast-moving group because of the growth of the baby boomer population. And so I know they exist. You may know of some of those resources, have come across those in your area too, Cherie, but I know they're here in our area, Northern California, North Bay, East Bay. I mean, you could start one of those, right? Start your power group and turn it into a BI meeting, and you'll have more referrals than you can handle. Love that power group and that list there. One I see, but could overlap. You call it a financial planner. I would add to that tax person. Many seniors have tax issues and need a CPA, and I would definitely be reaching out to CPAs. I get a lot of referrals.
never noticed we're missing that because we work with CPAs more than the financial planners. And I never noticed we were missing CPA. Thanks for pointing that out.
I would put that on the list. It's a great referral source, as you.
Yeah, we actually do. I never even noticed that we didn't have. We were actually going to change that to financial advisor, so that'll give me more of a reason to have that updated.
All right. Any final questions here before we let these two wonderful ladies go? Any comments?
I do. One more. Sorry. This is Julie again. With regard to all these resources. How does the financial side of it all work? I mean, if we send somebody to they need a mover, let's say, because they're going to be moving out of the area and they need somebody to help them with their move, like you were talking about. What kind of financial situation is that for them? Do they pay for that, or is it a free resource? I doubt.
Oh no, you mean the referral or the actual moving person?
Well, the actual moving person, are these people that?
They pay for that. Yeah, that's a service.
Yeah,
well, they're not regular movers. They're actually certified to work with seniors, and they're licensed and bonded to work with seniors. You pay for them. I don't know what they are in Northern California, but in Southern California they're about $60 an hour, but they're well worth it. But they organize. They actually hire the mover. They do a lot for that money. A company like, if you're curious what they are, like. Gentle Transitions is a chain that does that. Smooth Transitions is another one. I think there should be Gentle Transitions up in Northern California. But those, they're actually people who are licensed, bonded, they're insured. They can go into safe deposit box and do accounting for them.
Okay, so if somebody is in a situation...
Not your typical moving company.
Okay. If somebody's in a situation where they're just living on pennies, they're on Medicare and Medi-Cal, but they're not fully dual, Medicare, Medi-Cal, and they're looking to move, they have no extra pennies in their pocket. That's not the resource that we want to send them to.
No. If someone, I'll email Steve a low-income document for a low-income resource document that we give families. If someone really has no money, sounds so harsh to say, and there's very little you can do to help them other than give them resources of government stuff that is available, which is not a lot. I will give Steve an email right now of what we give for Southern California, but you can probably duplicate a resource like this for Northern California.
And your website again?
Planforseniorcare.com.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
This has been an
Steve, I just
incredible
emailed you that document.
meeting, so thank you. Tons of great information.
Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome. I know we get like a little sidetracked because there's so much, like you can't really talk about seniors in a nutshell. There's so many aspects of them. But when you guys are selling your insurance, realize that you're looking at that entire family. You're not just looking at the when you guys have that 65-year-old that you're getting the Medicare insurance for, you have that secondary person to help with a parent and say, hey, has it been reviewed? Do you want to go over it? Do you want to check it out? Because it doesn't cost them anything to have it reviewed, make sure they have the right insurance. Gosh, Barb, don't you think like maybe 90% of the time they get new insurance, the seniors?
Yeah.
It
seems like they always have the wrong insurance. So we need to refer that out.
Yeah.
And
Or
the
they move counties. They move counties and they have to have their insurance changed.
Yes, sorry for that. The long-term care document that you mentioned, can you send that to Steve as well?
What did I tell you about the long-term care?
You said on your library there was a long-term care document that outlined basically, let's see, you said something about there's a long-term care document on your website that's very helpful for understanding what long-term care is.
That's the senior care and housing, or what was that document I was telling you to look for? Know when care is needed, because that opens the door for you to point out that they do need care and that Medicare doesn't pay for it. So if you're going to need this, you may need long-term care. Those are that's not an actual long-term care document. It's a document showing people this is what you need to be cared for, and that your Medicare is not going to pay for that.
Are you familiar with ICAP?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Do they do all that you do?
No. That's our business is if you were to describe our business, we're in the senior care and housing placement business. And what makes us unique from like a Place for Mom or a large chain that does placements, they only do the placement component. Barb and I are more of a boutique agency where we sit down with families to find out their entire situation so that they have a successful move and that the family goes on with less chaos. That's actually how our business was started. I worked in the industry for a Place for Mom for 7 years and realized that the senior care and housing was such a small aspect of what was going on with these people. When Barb and I went through placement, we placed our mothers together, and she has her in-laws. And we saw from the family side of it, we said, gosh, the housing part isn't the hard part. It's that they needed new, they're moving from different counties and out of state. They need new medical insurance. They need new doctors. They need an attorney to take care of the wills and trusts. They needed VA benefits. They needed all this other stuff that before we can even get them into the senior care and housing, we knew where they were going. We were in the business. We knew where we were going to put them. But we couldn't even get to that point until these 20 other things that they needed to be taken care of were done. And that's where we saw a need for our company, was doing a complete care plan for these families so it's a more successful transition.
And, it's a free service. The families are never charged anything. We just get reimbursed by the properties. So it's totally a free resource. If you refer your clients to us, just know that we'll never charge them. They'll never pay a penny to us.
Great.
Extremely valuable, ladies. Thank you. It's really about finding the solution. I love the fact that you don't charge for your services. I mean, in essence, we don't either. We're required to inform and educate, and before we ever recommend a product, we don't lead with product. But we are a company for profit, as well as the services that I see listed on your website are. And so we always want to do the right thing and ask questions. And I think the differentiator here, and the reason we're talking today, you brought it up, Cherie, is we're looking for credible people, as you are, to work with that are going to provide more information than just a sale and refer back to these different organizations. And obviously, we'll want to work with you to control that. As you have referrals for us and we have them for you, we're going to want to lead and guide those referrals to make sure they get properly placed and get the attention and services that they need. So thank you. This was very insightful and informative. We're going to want to do this again. We'll put your documents, with your permission, and we'll go back and forth into our library as well. Some of those key documents that you're recommending today, with your permission.
Sure, absolutely. Thank you.
And again, thank you. Any Cherie, any final words you want to leave us with today?
Well, I love that you educate your agents. I think that's the key. With the more you know, the better you're able to help people. You don't need to be the expert on any other business other than your own, but you need to know a little bit about those businesses if they exist to help people. So I think if you can educate yourself and have yourself a really good team to work with, we love that power group approach. You won't even have to market yourself for business because you'll just have people referring to you because they know that you can help them.
So true.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, ladies.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
To our next meeting.
Okay, have a great day.
Great. Thank
and I'm
you.
just curious, was that a hot air balloon with people in your backyard or just one of the balloons that take the pictures?
It was a hot air balloon, big basket with about 12 people hanging over the edge.
Oh, my God. Were they trying to jump out?
No, they were landing. I live in hot air balloon country.
Yeah. Okay. Because I'm like picturing this. All these people in your backyard, you're staying pretty calm.
I know, we could actually hear the gas. That's funny.
Between your hot air balloon and my puppy that just decided to go spaz out on me.